In 2016, I found myself, first of all, in a very interesting position. I traveled to a beautiful city, one of my favorite cities in the world, known as Gotham City by those who are really into that city, otherwise known as NYC, the Big Apple, New York City. I traveled to New York City, and for that particular day, I was supposed to be there only for a few hours. And as I got there early in the morning, of course, I dressed apart because I was supposed to meet some very important people. And I was there only for 24 hours. And it was a very precise thing, everything was actually tight when it comes to schedule. But I had some free time in the morning before my meeting. So I was just walking down New York City, just enjoying myself and so on and so forth. Of course, some of the people that actually saw me in the morning simply say, "Oh, my name is good." You could tell in the eyes, they simply say, "My goodness, this guy is so well dressed," and so on and so forth. And I was very proud of myself. I said, of course, I dressed because today is a very important day. So I need to dress the part. I need to look the part. And I'm just walking down New York City. And at one point, I got close to the Fifth Avenue. I don't know what was happening, but I was getting closer to a particular hotel, beautiful hotel. And as I was getting close to a particular hotel, I saw the doorman basically straighten himself and was just basically ready to welcome someone very important. So I looked around me and said, "Oh my goodness, it's early in the morning, so there's nobody. So more than likely, he must have noticed me. But I'm not going to this particular hotel. But this particular gentleman seems to be getting ready to do something super nice to me or for me." So of course now I adjusted now my stride just to make me inflate my sense of importance as far as that particular day was concerned. To my greatest surprise, as I got closer to the door, man, I realized that he was not strengthening himself for me, but he had been strengthening himself for an SUV that he saw from a distance that was coming to this particular hotel. I said, okay, this is very odd, but I mean, how this is possible? And when the SUV pulled over, the door was actually, he rushed to open the door, and I see a man emerge from that SUV. I was expecting someone to also show up there dressed to the nines, ready to kill like myself. But to my greatest surprise, the man that came out of the SUV was just dressed in short and basically casually dressed. I said, this is a disgrace. Why is this gentleman? Why was he getting himself ready? Why he was getting to do all this acrobatics for someone who just basically dressed in short? And then right there and there I realized that this must be someone very important. And the way he's dressed does not speak to the level of importance that he has in the eyes and the mind of the person attending to this SUV. And he walked by me and he was rushed inside, and you could tell that everyone that was actually close to the hotel knew exactly how important that young man was as far as the day is concerned. So why am I telling this story? I'm telling you this story because when it comes to defunding wealth, WEALTH, it is crucially important to understand that when it comes to riches, your financial advisor at your local bank can tell you how rich you are by basically going through the bank account and going through all your portfolio of investment to tell you exactly where you stand as far as riches or the paper, what is tangible is concerned, because they can count how much money you have. That's riches, that's how rich you are. But wealth, on the other hand, is not the visible part of who you are. So again, to be rich is to be visible. That's a visible part of your entity. And wealth is the invisible part of your entity. But of course, the mistake that most of us make is we tend to focus on what we can see. We tend to focus on the hard evidence of success, which is riches. Because we say to ourselves, if I can only have a pile of cash available, that will give me a sense of security that yes, I have arrived and I'm a very rich man or a very rich woman. Because we need to count it, we need to see for ourselves in order for us to get to that place of safety. On the other end, the wealth that I'm talking about is not something you can count. It is invisible. And that's the first key foundation that must be established in your mind. So when you're talking about wealth, we're not talking about what is visible. We're talking about what is invisible. The invisible part of who you are. That's number one. Number two, wealth and versus riches. Riches can buy up to a certain number of things on the table. You will go somewhere, they will tell you that yes, this particular item will cost you $200. You look at your bank account and say yes, I can afford this. You actually go somewhere, they will say to you, this particular item will cost you $250,000. You will look at your bank account and everything that the bank has approved you for and say yes, I can actually buy this. That's because you are going by what you can see, by what you can count, and your bank account and your financial advisor is also going by what they can count. On the other end, wealth is simply the invisible part of who you are. With the invisible part of who you are, you will simply go somewhere. You will not need to be bothered with by how much things are going to cost, because you know no matter how much they're going to ask you, you have more than enough to attend to most transaction out there, because the depth of who you are is basically part of the invisible. So again, wealth is the invisible, and wealth is also the invisible strength, the invisible power that can give you the confidence to go anywhere and to avoid most things that life has to offer. So these are the two major foundation things I need to lay as far as the introduction is concerned. And why it is particularly important? Because when it comes to wealth, the third element of wealth that we have to understand is wealth is all about the value creation that you are actually putting on the table. Again, wealth is available. Wealth is the ability, the supreme ability to afford anything you can actually desire. And number three, wealth is all about value creation. Let me just give you a very specific example, and I'm going to get into the core part of my presentation. In 1924, and again, oh my goodness, it's so funny, in New York City again, was born a young girl that came to be known as Sicily. That was the first name, and last name is Dyson. For quite a long time in her life, she was a very shy person. But the people in her life realized that she was someone also very special, because of the value that she was bringing to the people around her. And it's a funny thing. She told a story herself a few years ago. She said one day she was working with her mom somewhere, and a stranger comes to them and simply says, "Ma'am, I would like to talk to you." And mom said, "What's going on?" She says, "I would like to talk to you about this particular child. This child of yours is going to make it big in the world, number one. This child of yours, it may not look like it, but she will take care of you in the future. This child of yours is someone of great value." And this is a true story that she herself told a few years ago during an interview. And why is this particularly important? Let me just go slowly again. In 1972, because eventually she affirmed herself, and she started to establish herself as an actress. And in Hollywood, she started going for movies. And in 1972, the year when the Godfather movie was released, in March 1970, if I'm not mistaken, it was also released another movie by the name of Sounder. So again, S as in Sam, O as in Orange, U as in USA, N as in Nancy, D as in Dimitri or Delta, E as in Echo, R as in Romeo, and yes, Sounder. Was released in 1972, and in that movie, Cicely Tyson was also featured. She appeared in the movie, and the movie, I believe, was also nominated, and she was nominated for a performance in the movie, and that was in 1972. But of course, you can imagine the competition was such that unfortunately she did not win, and the movie did not win. But a performance caught the attention of many people in the community. And when I say community, I'm talking about Hollywood. Because people came to realize that yes, my goodness, this young is particularly talented. But of course, unfortunately for her, because she was a woman, and of course because of the inequality that we had back in the days when it comes to Hollywood, she was not paid what she was supposed to be paid based on the value she had put on the table. She was only paid a measly $6,000. That was in 1972. Time went on until basically 2007. So basically 35 years later. 35 years later, at that point there was a young man by the name of Tyler Perry, who was doing very well and producing a movie called Why Did I Get Married? So Tyler Perry had the privilege of inviting this actress Sicily to appear in the movie. But he said to himself, I've seen the quality of work that this woman has been able to put out there for the past few years. I see the value she's been bringing to the table for the past few years. And I come to realize she was not being properly compensated for the value she was actually putting out there. So I'm going to invite her to be part of this production as an actress, but she's going to only show up for one day of work. But for this one day of work back in 2007, so basically 35 years after she had been in a movie called Sounders, I'm going now to compensate her properly. So I'm going to give her a check for $1 million to simply let her know how much of an impact she had made on me as far as the value that she brings to the table is concerned. So again, 35 years later, someone came and said, I would like to honor the value that you've been bringing to the table. This is wealth creation. This is wealth at its finest.